a thrilling match. Sri Lanka needed to score 6 runs per over for 42 overs to win their rain-curtailed match against Pakistan. And the trajectory of their scores continued along the lines of what was required before Shaheen Afridi dealt 2 crucial blows in the penultimate over of the Sri Lankan innings, leaving the hosts to score 8 runs of the last 6 deliveries. Skipper of Pakistan, Babar Azam, handed the ball to Zaman Khan, a debutant who conceded only 2 of the first 3 deliveries, and then there was that run out of the 4th ball. With Sri Lanka needing 6 of the last 2 deliveries, the Pakistan camp had started preparing for celebrations. Celebrations to win the match and celebrations to reach the finals and meet India in the finals. But what transpired over the next 2 balls was what made the difference. Charita Asalanka did it for Sri Lanka with an unbeaten 49, and it was heartbreak for Pakistan and a young bowler playing his first match in his greens. Now, first thing I want to ask both Jamie and Chetan, I'll begin with you, is did you expect that finish? And as you were heading into the last over, who was your money on? And how did it change after 4 balls?
No, I mean, I didn't expect, I expected a close finish with the way the game was going, because even throughout Sri Lanka's innings, they were, like you mentioned, that they were chugging along really nicely at 6 and over. There was no break, there were no breaks in between, and their batting was really going along well. But at no point did they really, break free of the asking rate. They put the Pakistani team under pressure, yes, but they were not really clear that Pakistan needed to do something out of the ordinary to, pull a rabbit out of the hat. So it was always an even Steven innings that Sri Lanka was playing. And with such innings, you expect it to go close. You expect it to go fine. I expected, whenever that big partnership was going to be broken, I expected Pakistan to fight back. And that's what happened. Whenever, as soon as, Kushal Mendes got out for 91. I mean, what a terrific knock. Some of the cut shots and cover drives he played, it was absolutely brilliant to watch the way he pierced the field. But the moment they lost him, you knew that Pakistan would come back into the game with Shaheen Afridi. Yes, they had a debutant pace bowler, but again, that just underlines the strength of Pakistan's pace attack at the moment. That they have so many pace bowlers to come up with the goods that even a debutant, had the gall to take the match to the last over, the last ball.
All right.
Having said that,
right,
their spin attack is the weakness, and which is what Sri Lanka really counted on and made complete benefit of to win this game.
All right. So Zaman Khan, our thoughts and prayers are with him for what he had to go through on that last over. But if I were to ask you, Jamie, your thoughts on the game, fascinating game of cricket for any fans of cricket out there, irrespective of who you support or you don't support. Let that be said, a great game of cricket. But did you expect Sri Lanka to finally pull through? Did you expect a 4 and a 2 in the last 2 balls from Charita Asalanka?
Look, it was a cracker, and it was, like you said, it was a very fitting virtual semi-final, because here are 2 teams which, both of them, while the world and their uncle can say that India should get there, and look at how it was designed that India had the easiest route to get to the final. Here are 2 teams saying, hang on. We know the narrative is heavily stacked in favor of the Indian team and the BCCI, but we want to do our darndest to get there, I think if you compare these 2 teams, Sri Lanka to Pakistan, we've all seen the way that Pakistan's campaign has just gone from very good to very bad. So despite that, in yesterday's preview show, I said that I see Sri Lanka as the overwhelming favorites. The fact that they pulled through is not surprising, but yes, the fact that despite keeping the chase in control, I think they were hovering around the 6.2 mark pretty regularly. For them to somewhat lose their way and then come back, hats off to them, but I did not see it getting down to the wire like it did yesterday. So full credit to Pakistan for jolting them. But when you have someone like Asalanka around at the death,
yeah,
not surprising that someone of his because he's the best number 5 going around along with KL Rahul. So when you have someone there, no matter if it was 2 runs, 3 runs, even 4 runs, in that situation, I would go with the guy who's got the stats and the form to show for. But yes, hard luck to Zaman Khan on debut.
I see Chetan smiling widely. Chetan, how many of these cricketers does Sri Lanka produce? How many of these Charita Aslankas? We were discussing with Jamie yesterday. From Dharma Sena onwards. You can talk about these spinner come batsman turning into spinner. Technically, Sanat Jayasuriya in the mix of things, from a lower middle order batsman and a part-time spinner to a opening batsman and a lead spinner. How many characters like this, Charita Aslanka? We're not talking about Velalage, who was the hero of the last match, just in a losing cause. This is something that India has to be keenly watching, as it prepares to take on Sri Lanka in the finals.
Absolutely, and it's a good thing that you mentioned Jayasuriya over there, because last night when I was watching them, my mind repeatedly went back to the mid-90s, because Arjuna Ranatunga prepared a Sri Lankan side of nobodies really, and went on to win the 1996 World Cup. They rewrote that particular script with their hitting, with their spin bowling, and a bit of pace bowling in there, thrown in the mix as well. And it was a team of nobodies. And in the lead up to the World Cup, that 96 World Cup, they had started doing well. They had started gelling well. And Sri Lankan cricket recently has been through that particular period where it went to such lows that people stopped paying attention to it, to actually, what was even happening over there. But slowly and steadily, and without raising too many eyebrows, they've just come back up again. This unit under Dasun Shanaka, whether it's the T20 format or the ODI format, is gelling really well. Really well. And it needs to be mentioned that they're missing 3 or 4 first team bowlers. One in Stranga, the first of them, obviously, he's a superstar. Add them to this mix-up where the team doesn't know how to lose, where they're putting in performances, whether with the bat, whether with the ball, surprising India, surprising Pakistan.
Right.
They could be the surprise package in the World Cup coming, with the conditions absolutely suiting their strengths. And, they could just bring in a few surprises, especially in low scoring games where you're chasing 250 or you're defending 270, 275, and the ball is turning and gripping. Sri Lanka could really surprise a couple of teams in the upcoming World Cup.
Sri Lanka played really well. They played better cricket than us. That's why they won. We weren't up to the mark with our bowling and fielding. That's why we lost. In the middle overs, we are not bowling well. That partnership between Mendes and Samaravikrama cost us. We are starting well, we are finishing well, but we're not taking wickets in the middle. So that is the analysis, so to speak, self-analysis of Babar Azam as of the Pakistan team. How much would you agree with that, Jamie?
Look, like I just mentioned, Krishna, the fact that they've gone from that statement win by 238 odd runs against Nepal to then, yes, they dominated that match against India, but let's not forget that a scoreline of 66 for 4 was allowed to get to 266 for 4. So when you concede 200 runs from, after having them down on the mat, there were some problems there. And then the moment they ran into India the second time around, it just did not look like the same team, right? And yes, Babar Azam did make some tactical mistakes. I thought even in the previous match, putting so much faith in Iftikhar Ahmed after you've taken the call to drop Mohammad Nawaz. So not just his bowling decisions have been strange. Again, we have to admit the fact that not having Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf, that is 2/3 of this fantastic pace bowling trio, not around, is obviously a big problem. I mean, look, we discussed yesterday, they had already named their 11 and then they make the surprise of making those changes there. The man they dropped, Fakhar Zaman, he comes back in because Imam has a niggle. Who knows? All these murmurs of infighting and rifts, it just leads to a picture of a very disjointed team, which for the majority of this tournament, right here on this platform, we were talking about how settled they've looked. But one defeat and the whole thing goes topsy-turvy.